Good morning, Georgetown and surrounding areas. Thank you for joining us this morning on Spotlight, brought to you by the Georgetown NAACP Branch number 5520. We're going to be talking to you about the latest news in redistricting. Big news this week, folks, and looks like we are heading in the right direction. So we're going to talk about that for a few minutes. We'll get into the latest news with the COVID at home test, vaccinations, what's going on with COVID, and also the town of Hemingway police officer involved shooting incident. We'll talk about that also. And of course, we'll wrap up with what's going on in the community, city and county council meetings, and encourage all of you to join the NAACP and become a community advocate. And we're going to have all of that right after this opening.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to put a hand of protection.
Well, good morning, everyone. We're back, and thank you for joining us again. Let's go ahead and get started and bring in Marvin Neal, president of the Georgetown, South Carolina, branch number 5520. Good morning, Marvin. How are you?
Thank you, Marilyn. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. I know you are in a national meeting and everything, dressed up and everything with your suit and tie. Go ahead now. All right.
Yeah, I got another meeting to go to right after this too. So
community
function and stuff for young males. So I'm ready to get on and off of here. So.
Very good, very good. So let's jump into redistricting, because that was huge this week. What was going on with redistricting? And a couple of things I'm going to post up. Let me go ahead and pull up the map that they voted on this Tuesday. But this Tuesday was the public hearing just before the county council meeting regarding the final map for the redistricting impacting Georgetown County Council seats. And Marvin, while I put it up, just give it a little bit of background here where we are. Okay. And map is number 509. And this is the final map and some of the changes. The big one that they were really pushing that we were not happy with was map number 843A. And in particular, it left Georgetown County District number 4 with a 23% Black minority influential district. And we knew that it could be done much better. So we went to bat for it. We went to fight, had meetings, went to the public hearings, and we spoke out about it. A number of organizations and individuals spoke out about the fact that we could do much better. So in map 509, District 4 now has 42.29%. No, actually it's more than that, right?
No, it's 40,
48. It's
48.7, which puts them back into a majority minority. The good thing about this, Maryland, this fight just haven't started. It started back when we went to the Georgetown Tech, when redistricting was really kicking off, and you spoke, and Mary Ann Mackey and some of the others from.
And that was the Horry County campus of Georgetown Tech.
Horry County. Mm-hmm. So this has been going for a while, but for Georgetown, we really got engaged when we did the first presentation to some of the county council in the minority district, and told them our concerns about District 4 and where we were at, and 3 and 7. But District 4 was our target because we were looking at, I think we were looking at the wrong end of the tunnel. We were looking at what could not happen instead of what can happen. And what can happen came out of it, because we started at 22.7%, which is, that don't give anyone a chance to do anything. That map should have never been presented, from my perspective. Mm-hmm. It's more insulting than anything. It tells us that our vote don't matter until it's time for elections. You know what I'm saying? And it tells us that we can't let people minimize our vote, from that perspective. So we ended up with that 48, but we have to bring in a whole lot of meetings and and challenges and stuff that we went through, and a lot of public speaking and people speaking out from Charpy to Browns Ferry to the city of Georgetown, the different organizations that came out, the Galagic Chamber, 70 Mention, 142. These groups just came out and spoke against it. League of Women Voters. That tells us what we need to do. When we fight together, we win. Because if we don't do it that way, we'll lose. Because no one, and we knew county councils had the opportunity to just present a map and push it through as they choose. But we also know we had the right to take it to court and deal with it also. So those things always, what I say to people, always know the rule before you go into the fight. Because if you don't, people will take advantage of you, and elected officials will take advantage of you. And that was the position we were in at that time, sitting at 70%, 62%, and 23% in another district. That didn't make no sense. That tells us our body wasn't paying attention to us. So when the citizens spoke out, we ended up where we are right now at map 650, and thanks to a great administrator that really handled that stuff. Because I don't think, to tell you the truth, I don't think there's no one else I could think of that handled it as well as she had done. She was starch professional in handling that. Never got aggravated, just presented to the people and did a great job, So.
Yeah, I think they listened to the people, and the people did what we encourage folks to do all the time, Marvin, is to get engaged. And this redistricting fight was a prime example of why, as an engaged citizen, it's more than just voting. Voting is just one of the rights and responsibilities that we have. We have to be engaged and informed so we could express our opinions. And even if you are not totally informed, you can still express your opinion. And an opinion maybe I need to know more. And the redistricting is a prime example of what citizens expressing their voice could affect, and we should affect all the time, because our elected officials are public servants. They serve at the pleasure of the public. They take their oath to all of us. All right, so that's very important. And redistricting was a prime example of why they needed to come out and learn more and hear your voices. So it went to a map 650 that is much more representative of the people, and giving the people the chance to do the work to elect someone who represents them, who they're comfortable with in representing them. All right. Let's go ahead and bring in Jackie Williams. All right. Hey, Jackie, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
We're good. We're just wrapping up our segment on redistricting, catching everybody up on the map 650, the final map that was voted on this past Tuesday. Do you have any thoughts before we wrap up this segment?
Real quick, I think that, one of the things that this whole process showed me is that if people understand what it is you're fighting for, they will show up. But we have got to make sure that we are informing people about what the fights are, and helping them to understand how to fight. And, by saying, show up. When you show up, if you have something to say, speak, and giving them the information. And once we can do that, people showed up. They showed up. And it was really awesome to see. What we have to do, though, is help them to understand that now that this particular issue is over, we got a whole lot of other issues that we have to attend to. So you don't get to say, okay, well, we're done here. I'm going back home and, all is well. No, we have to say, we got to keep fighting. And the redistricting one was a prime example of how, when you spread the information, take it out there, give people the knowledge, help them to understand the need for them to be there and to show up and to speak. And most importantly, I think, Marilyn, something that you've always said, and that is, what do we stand to lose? What do we stand to lose? When they truly can understand that, people will show up, and they did. So I just applaud the entire community for coming out and giving voice to such a worthwhile cause. Yes, it was
That's right.
it was awesome. It was
That's
awesome.
right. And you're correct in saying there are more issues. There's more work to be done. This is just one more step. We are not here willy-nilly. We are here because of decades of actions and policies that didn't necessarily benefit our community. So that's not going to change overnight. That you're right, and other issues are presented, and we need to come back out and gain more knowledge and continue the fight and share the knowledge with others so we can expand the folks who are doing the work. And that means bringing in young folks and everything too. Very good point. Now, next issue that really should not be an issue, but that was made an issue, and it does speak to why we need to be engaged, is of course the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. That now there's talk of Omicron is slowing down, but there also is another subvariant of Omicron out there, and they're keeping an eye on it and see the impact of that. But opening up society more so we can, deal with the economy more. And the economy is actually stronger than people believe, but COVID has impacted it. But there's some things, of course, that we've been out here working on. We talk about working with these different groups. The NAACP has been a leader on making sure people get vaccinated. The at-home kids, getting your COVID testing done, really getting the word out and everything. So just, I don't know if you guys got this, not Marvin or Jackie, but I got my notice yesterday or early this morning that my at-home COVID test will be delivered on the 16th of next week. Did you guys get your notice yet?
I got my kit.
You got your kit?
Oh, wow.
Right.
I
think you did yours about a week before me or something too, Marvin. No, I did mine pretty quickly. So go ahead, Jackie.
I'm gonna I have to check, but I didn't see anything, and I didn't go in specifically looking for that, but I will check. But I'll be so happy when it does get here. And it's just like when you wait, it's like an emoji. Like you just, you get up in the morning and you're like, yes, this is gonna be an awesome day. And then you flip over into the news and it's like the stealth variant has shown up, and you're just like, another one.
Another one. Yeah.
Another one. That's it.
But this is why it's so important that we get tested and we get vaccinated.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's happening is we don't have herd immunity.
Yeah, and Marilyn, we have over 1,000 deaths right now of children. And leading into that, just this week, the AFL-CIO communicated with the school districts, even here in Georgetown, to issue face masks to children, which is a challenge for a lot of people getting those children face masks and the different sizes and stuff of that nature. So, and I saw the news this morning, they were in Charleston and all over South Carolina. Our president, Mr. Charles Graves, and Boris Johnson and Boris Gibson and
Hill.
I mean, they just did a marvelous job of pushing that out. And just seeing what's happening. We have to make sure that we understand we have to do everything together. That's why we partner with the AFL-CIO, ACLU, and those different units, which shows up in the fight. And it's not always a physical fight, but it's a fight to do something about the issues that we are dealing with. Even under the resistance, we have to continue to find ways to navigate and get through those things, because right now they talk about lifting mask mandates. So what do we do? We have to continue to make sure we put the word out. I don't know if I will ever take the mask off, Marilyn, because I found myself, I didn't get no cold or flu this year or anything of that nature. So the mask has a purpose either way. And I learned that from overseas, serving in places like Korea and the other places, Honduras and places like that. That mask keeps you protected. That's a filtering system. It's like that, like the heifer mask and stuff, So we have to continue to protect ourselves, even under the leadership of politicians that don't understand, ignoring the leadership of scientists and doctors and stuff. So we have to know where politics plays the role in and where they sit, and we have to know where our doctors, where they sit within our lives. You have to ask yourself, who's the medical profession? And why is this guy here saying that without the background, saying to justify what he's saying? So,
and why do we feel like we know more than people who have gone to college for 8 years, who have studied extensively, who, you know, who are world renowned, like can understand and break down the science of this thing? But we feel like just because we've read a couple of articles and you know, and we've watched our favorite news channel, you know, put the spin on it, that we know more than that. And I say to people all the time, it really amazes me. It amazes me. We go into the grocery store every day. We buy milk off the shelves. We buy chicken. We buy food. We buy vegetables out of a can. We buy, you know, fish, all kinds of stuff. And we sit there and we eat it. We eat it. We consume it. You have no idea what's in that milk. None. You don't know what is in that milk. You have no idea what chemicals is in that chicken. You don't know. But yet still you consume it. So to use the excuse of, well, I don't know what's in that vaccine. You don't know what's in the shot that they gave you when you went to the hospital for, you know, for something simple. You know, they gave you a shot to say, okay, this is going to take away the pain, this, that, and the other. You have no idea. But now all of a sudden, everybody is an authority on this particular, you know, thing. And to me, the greatest disservice that has happened with this pandemic is the way that it has been politicized. And so so instead of it going from a health crisis issue, it has been marred with politicism, and people are dying because of that. You know, and for all of the politicians that have bought into the way that, you know, to fuel their careers and what have you, shame on you. I mean, shame on you. Shame on you. Because people, you know, all of these folks that have lost their lives, you think about it, a lot of these people could have been alive today. Yeah. If it wasn't for politics.
That's very true. That's very true. I mean, you can't get around it. And that's when you were talking about further issues. It's an issue. That's why we need to be engaged citizens. And more importantly, we need to be knowledgeable. We need to be informed. And all of us, you know, it doesn't have to be book learning per se, but read a newspaper. Attend trainings, attend meetings where informed people are, so you could get informed. What is it our parents told us when we were growing up? People judge you by the company you keep. It's not caring about people judging you. The important thing that they were trying to tell us, be careful who you associate yourself with. Associate yourself with people who mean well by you.
Yeah.
And there's charlatans out here who are spreading lies, who, you're correct, politicize this pandemic, when you're right, Jackie, you couldn't go to college if you weren't vaccinated. You can't move around in the military without being vaccinated. If he sent you overseas or wherever you went, you got vaccinated. I got vaccinated as a military brat. We no longer have polio or measles as an issue because of vaccinations.
That's it.
I got so much vaccination, Maryland, in 21 years, from going overseas to Korea twice and Honduras and training in Panama and stuff like that. Yeah. You know, you really, you know, it seems as though my whole blood type might have changed, you know, but I never asked, you know, I just took it because that was a part, I trusted the leadership that was in front of me. Now, leadership that's in front of a lot of, like America right now, you know what I'm saying, and the past, you know, they're telling people, you know, the mishaps of vaccines and stuff of that nature, which really don't make sense. No one ever asked me, or I never asked myself, what's in an aspirin or a Tylenol when I put it in my mouth. I never read the bottle.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Just for a simple headache, goodie power. People are throwing it down and throwing it on. Ask them what's in a goodie power. And if they tell you this minute, you can ask them tomorrow, they still won't be able to tell you again, but they still put it in their mouth. So let's trust the science and the doctors that deal with medicines. And let's leave these politicians out of our lives and keep that mask on, because it saves lives. you know, and we are foolish to say it don't. That's why you got firemen wears it. You know, you have military wears it. You have people that work in lab. I work in lab for 21 years at Santa Cooper. I have to wear masks. You know what I'm saying? These type things you have to just do because it makes sense. Just do what makes sense. People dying around you that looks like you wearing a mask and they're not. You took the vaccine, they didn't. They're dying, but those right there in your same company and family still saying, I'm not going to do it because I don't trust it. Well, wait to die to trust it. You know, that don't make any sense to me. This foolish politician and misinformation. But when leadership at the top puts out misinformation, that's your greatest failure to anything you do. We have to know that. You know, we have a dumb president that put out this crazy stuff that didn't make no sense for politics. You still got foolish folks out there running around right now still talking about it.
Yep.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yep. And it's been years of them, excuse me, just this is part of also the result of the attack on public education, the undermining of our political institutions. And y'all, none of us on this panel are naive to believe that our institutions are perfect. They are far from being perfect. But one thing, you have to understand the role of government. The role of government is to provide services to the people. We pay taxes, so we get services from government. Those services range from anywhere from the roads that we travel every day to medicine, science, so that we can have choice and options. And when you undermine those basic services, that's where you have problems. That's where you have problems. And that's what we see with COVID has really revealed that. And I just read something today, I'm paraphrasing. When you get caught up with charlatans, it's hard to break that hold. And we're in something historically right now where it's showing up and it's causing people their lives.
Yeah.
You know, it's causing people their lives. But you know, we keep on going, y'all. That's why we're here, and we push knowledge. We share information with you. There's nothing that we talk about that you can't go to legitimate websites. And I've been posting those, sharing those screens today with more information, y'all, because we're out here learning and sharing the knowledge and doing the work of making sure people get vaccinated and make sure you get your at-home COVID test. There's a website, covidtest.gov. It's real simple form. Go order it. I had it posted up. Go order it, and it'll come in the mail. Marvin said he already received his. I got my notice yesterday or early this morning. It'll be here by the 16th. And so, Marvin, have you taken your test yet? Have you done one at home?
Yes, I have done the home testing and stuff.
So when you take it, where do you take it? Do you mail it back in, or do you take it to your local hospital?
No, they have a swab that you do it yourself, and you put it into a containment. And then it gives you the reading that you need. Right?
Gotcha. So you know immediate. Then you're going to know in 2 minutes.
Within 15 minutes, you should know what your results is.
Kind of like a pregnancy test.
Well, I don't know nothing about that. You know, don't get me tired of that. You ain't putting me into that conversation.
Except for in this case, you don't pee on it. You don't pee on it. Maybe.
I know the results of that test 2 times. So I have 2 daughters for the results of that test.
Oh my God.
So don't try me into that. You know, you give me chills now. I'm feeling, you know, because they done went through college and got children of their own in college and stuff. So don't give me any more chills about that test. Don't say that.
I got you. Well, I'm glad. I'm looking forward to it because that's going to be a game changer when we get those in the whole household. So y'all go ahead and order those tests, get your tests so you can do it at home. And that's a good way to segue into, we're talking about institutions, and there's
one second, Marilyn. But on the vaccines itself, you know, make sure that you understand that you could go into Tideland Health and DHAC. But Tideland, you can walk through the door and get your vaccination and boosters. You know what I'm saying?
Right then.
9 to 4 o'clock. Walk through the front door of Tideland Hospital, either through the emergency exit. They'll guide you to get that vaccine, you know, from 9 to 4 from Monday through Thursday. It's free to the public. It's free to the public. Please go and get that vaccine. We have to continue pushing that because we get comfortable. That's when we get crushed. We have to continue to push for it. Completion comes when you're finished. You have to
Mm-hmm.
do it. Just do it. We're almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're almost there, y'all. We just need to do our part. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah. And also remember the N95 mask that's going to be given out free as well. So keep a check on that. Keep an eye on that. I know all of the, major pharmacies, Walgreens, CVS, Walmart or what have you are going to be distributing those masks. So, keep an eye out on that. I do want to shout out Lindsay and Chris Hill, who were the two board members that started, Chris more particularly, started the mass drive for the kids through the union. And they had those masks specifically made. They're made in the US. They had them custom made specifically for children. So they are to fit kids, based on, so they really put a lot of thought into that. And mass is foreign to us because this is our first experience with having, with this type of level of, a health crisis where we've had to do this, but it's not foreign to other countries. It's not foreign to other countries. And I'm with Marvin. I don't think that I will ever stop wearing my mask, because one of the things that I have realized and that I've been paying attention to since this pandemic, I have experienced less colds, less sinus issues, quicker recovery time. If I do have an issue with my sinus, wearing the mask. And I have a really good friend that lives in Australia who travels to China and different places. And one of the things that he said to me was, we've been wearing masks, like even before this whole pandemic situation. We've been wearing masks, and especially if you're traveling like into China and different places, you have to wear a mask. So it wasn't foreign for him. It's just something new for us. But I rather have the inconvenience of wearing a mask than to have an untimely death, and and my family have to deal with that as a result of not wearing a mask. And I know we're trying to transition, but I want to ask this more specifically, probably to Marilyn, but Marvin, feel free to jump in. I just want to ask this: what do you guys think about the gentleman that was on the transplant list, who refused to get the vaccine, and they took him off of the transplant list? I think he was on there for a heart, and they took him. He refused flat out to get the vaccine, which is part of the requirement. And so they pulled him off of the transplant list.
Well, those are the consequences of your decisions.
And not only that, Marilyn, why should those doctors have put themselves at risk enough? Mm-hmm. Why should they have to go through risk because of the ignorance of others? Even the ones that's being treated, you can't be ignorant to that. What's wrong with that? It's just crazy. I have to go and get a test in March, and the first thing they said, you bring me a proven test that you took at least 3 days prior, or just come here and get it 3 days prior. So they have provided the infrastructure and the landscape for us to be safe. Man, let's move on from ignorance. It's time up. It's time to just move on. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna say this: Black people, you need to take over and lead again, like we have fought through everything else, and bring America back. Let's stop saying, they said. Let's get out of that. If others want to be stupid to that, let them be stupid. Dang, we don't have to be that way. We fought through enough. We know how to fight through everything, and let's fight again. Let's stop all this foolishness. And when I say Black people, I'm talking about people of color, Jews, all of them. Let's fight on through this stuff. We did it before. Ida B. Wells, read her story. He'll tell you how we fought through America. This, a matter of fact, Marilyn, this is the 113th anniversary of the NAACP. This is the birthday of the NAACP. Today, February 12th. February 12th. Remember, this is the day that the fight started for people of color. You know what I'm saying? With identification. It started before now. 5 years, in 1905, it really started. But let's remember the Ida B. Wells and your W.B. Du Bois and the Harriet Tubmans. These people, I mean, it's amazing. And then just the fight that women made. Ida B. Wells is the one who really put the fight in for women to have the right to vote. It started with her. It's huge. It's just huge. The legacy of the NAACP. And I just have to say this. There is no fight that we don't have our hands on and that we don't have a pathway to win. Just follow the lead, because that's what I do from the national down. We have a board meeting this morning and stuff that I'm jumping back and forth on. But hey, we have to continue to fight. And we have to learn how to fight by getting educated and to become advocacy of how to fight. Just don't jump out there doing foolish stuff or just saying I'm fighting with no end game. You have to have an end game with an objective in mind. You know, bring it. Hey, let's do this thing together. I hear all kinds of folks, they go out there and rally and march and all kinds of stuff off of feelings. The question is, what systematic change that you're going to make at the end of this? What is your end game? You know?
You know, Marvin said it all with the man with the transplant. You know, I said consequences of his decisions, and there's a selfishness that as individuals for too long in this United States, we've been talking about this individualism, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which has never been true. But that's another show. We'll talk about that. Yeah. And this is the consequences of his decisions. And he's not the only one. There were others also that they've pulled off those transplant lists. And the thing is so sad about it, there are other requirements that you must go through to get a transplant.
Yeah.
He didn't refuse those requirements. You just can't willy-nilly just go get a transplant. There's certain things you have to meet. You know, you got to watch your diet. You got to prepare your body to get a transplant. That vaccine is just one more step that needed to be added because COVID-19 got out of control because of political decisions. And you know, to a certain extent, I'm sympathetic with people who've been misled. But at this point, I no longer have sympathy because there's too much good information out there that people have been pushing and educating folks. At this point, people just are stubborn. They're stubborn and selfish because why? We all paid a price financially, emotionally, and physically when these people refuse to get vaccines. Who's paying for that transplant? People who pay, you know, we all pay medical bills and stuff like that. That goes towards helping people getting transplants. I'm not against transplants, but I think if you're going to seek a transplant for whatever reason, you too have to make an investment. You're going to have to do what you need to do to get that transplant. And he's paying the price for it. And unfortunately, his family's going to pay a price because he's going to die. And he doesn't have to die. So, you know, so moving right along to our next segment. And, you know, on February 5th, a tragedy happened in Georgetown that did not have to happen. I don't even know to call it tragedy, but an officer-involved shooting happened in Georgetown where a gentleman was killed. And it was not in jurisdiction. It is all kind of messed up. And I'll go ahead and share. The bond was set at $150,000 for Cassandra Dollard, who was a Town of Hemingway police officer. And not that long either, y'all. She wasn't there, I think maybe 5 months. But she's been in law enforcement for years and was fired twice before ending up in Hemingway. So there's a bigger picture going on here. Our thoughts are with the family. I mean, it's a tragedy for the family, but it speaks to the bigger issue of this need for a national database of law enforcement officers who get fired. And I know there have been activists and advocates pushing for years to have this national database that when law enforcement's fired, that other departments know their history. So your law enforcement career needs to end, you know. But in this case, it didn't, and it ended up being a tragedy for the Langley family. Robert Langley, 46, 10 children, 3-week-old grandchild, I believe 3 or 3 month old grandchild lost their father and grandfather, and I understand he was well thought of, and this did not have to happen.
In Maryland, you hit it on the head. The National Registry for Police, and this young lady, she was fired from police departments right in the adjacent cities. Johnsonville, Illinois. It's sad that someone did not make a mistake. Someone made a decision to take a chance. That should not have happened. And if you're going to take a chance, retrain her, put her in a position where she is capable of handling, maybe a desk job or something. But you don't put her out there with no supervision. Because she didn't have any supervision. She was out there by herself. No supervisor on duty that night or anything. Bottom line.
Well, Marvin, I think in this case, what we know, and I have it directly on the screen here, she shouldn't have been given multiple chances. For the reasons they're citing now, that she was fired, her law enforcement career should have ended.
Misconduct, that's done. When you can't receive instructions, it's over.
Yeah.
There's no room. God.
Look here, and we're not law enforcement, but we know you don't go outside your jurisdiction. I mean, that's one of the things most people know. You have the sheriff have their area, the towns have their areas, SLED has the whole state. We know departments have their jurisdiction. That's a basic point of being in law enforcement.
I walked into the sheriff's office the day after, and the first thing he said, I said, "What would you?" He said, "I know what you came here to talk to me about." That's you absolutely right. But he said, I said, "What is your take on that?" He said, "Number one, that was not a reason to even go behind him. Leave him alone. Number two, you were outside of your jurisdiction. We were on the way when we heard the call anyhow. When it got there, the decision already been made. Didn't wait on backups or anything. She shot him because the way his eyes look. God have mercy, I've been shot every day and stuff coming out of the club the way my eyes look.
But
everybody dead.
Right. And the thing about it, though, is he had already wrecked the car.
Yeah.
The car, the front end of the car was in the ditch embankment. Right. So where was he going to go? It wasn't like he could have backed the car out. The car was tilted up like this down in the ditch. He couldn't have gone any place. Worst case scenario, he would have had to flee on foot. Worst case scenario. He was going to run. But they would have caught him. Where was he going to go?
Yeah, they had the car. They had the license plate.
Okay. And
where
was he going to go?
He never got out the car. He never got out the car to put his hands out.
They saw his hands. She saw his hands. Don't shoot.
Where was he? Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think that police departments in a lot of places are so desperate for bodies until they're sacrificing trained, qualified people just to be able to have bodies out there in the street. And that right there is that one is going to come back to have a serious repercussion as a result of this particular situation, tragedy. And so you can't do that. I mean, look, you can sacrifice. I mean, you can bring in a body into a restaurant, to say, okay, we're short staffed in this restaurant. We need some more people. Do you have any experience? No. Have you had, I've been fired from a couple of places. Look, do you know how to take a tray to the table? Yeah. Okay, I could do that. Then you're hired. But you can't do that with law enforcement. That you've got to understand. There are too many things that could go wrong, and this is a prime example of what can go wrong. This is a prime example of what could go wrong. And if you look at the history, some of the things that they have shared about her history as it relates to her violations and things that have happened, that lets me know, just looking at it, that there was something, that there was a mental, there was something going on up here.
It's
If
something
you just look
going on.
it's something going on in the mental capacity. I don't know if it's diminished or what have you, but she really needed to have a serious evaluation, a serious evaluation for her, just for the mental part of it. Because I was looking at some of the things, that, were a part of her background, and, hitting on somebody's car, talking about, the lady that she was pushing that stranded on the side of the road, not filing reports properly or at all, the procedure, not using proper procedure in traffic stops or what have you. It was more than just it was not just a training issue, but there was something else that was going on with this young lady that should have been addressed. And it was enough for anybody to say, you shouldn't have a gun and you shouldn't be on the street. I'm with Marvin. At best, you should be behind a desk. At best, but never with a gun and out on the street. Yeah.
Well, the consequences of this is not only the consequences to her as an individual, but the consequences to the town of Hemingway. This is why municipalities have insurance, because this could surely bankrupt them. It will go deeper. They need to go deeper into the other municipalities that hired her. There is a track record here. It is public knowledge because it's in the newspapers. It's nothing that was hidden. It's just that for whatever reason, whether it's a shortage of staff or desperation, I don't know, they continuously hired her. That's the root of the tragedy that happened on the 5th. It didn't start on the 5th. It ended on the 5th with the loss of the life of Mr. Langley. The start of it is rehiring her again and again, and you knew why you fired her. She should have been out of the law enforcement system, period.
Hey, I mean, and I know the family. I don't know that immediate person, but I served with the Langley family. As a matter of fact, he was one of my shop foremen in Fort Hood, Texas, on the 2nd Army Division. We rebuilt turbines, M1 tanks, engines, and stuff. And he was one of my shop foremen, part of the family. The Langley family taught me at Shop E. You're my teacher, Mr. Virginia Langley, and those were my teachers. So it's not new of the strength of the family. It just hurts so bad. When I heard Langley, I got a personal grief about that, because, and not anything against the Dollar family, anything of that nature, but just for one to get killed, anyone getting killed. But when you know someone to the point of that family member, you share that grief with them, because it's sad that someone had to die, and I'm not saying what her condition is, whether she is mentally and stable and all that stuff, but that need to be tested, because all that's going to play a major role in what happens next. It's a major role. You pray, you pray like candlelight vigils. You don't disrupt the town, because the process for what they're doing now for us correcting the individual, all that's in place. The sheriff department in Georgetown did what they're supposed to do. That was my point for going down there. Sheriff in Hemingway County, the police department in Hemingway County, they did what they're supposed to do after the fact, but they did it. They opened the door, and whatever they need to provide, they provided that. This young lady been, removed from the job. She been jailed. She been bonded out, waiting trial. So let's be careful how we go back, and because these communities don't have a whole lot. The last line of defense is marching and stuff like that, because now you creating other issues. So, and I can't tell people what not to do, but that's not the first thing we would do. The first thing is you look, see what's going on with the process.
Well, I don't think
that's just my message.
It speaks with the municipalities. That's the family.
Yeah.
Wait. That's the family, and their lawyers need to look into that. Unfortunately, they've been put in a position where they have to hold these municipalities responsible, and in the long term benefit all of us. The good thing with SLED, they have stepped in. Law enforcement is doing what they're supposed to be doing in this situation. I do want to note it is a Black female. Before all of the information started coming up, I just knew. I said she gonna get it. She gonna get it, because we're gonna make an example also of that subtle institutionalized racism does come into play. We cannot discount that, but it's not leading it. It's not leading it, because they have stepped up the appropriate investigative body, SLED, and they're doing what they're supposed to do, and the solicitor are doing what they're supposed to do in this situation. But it's, as once again, the end happened on February 5th. The beginning was allowing a career to continue in law enforcement that should not have continued.
Yeah, correct. And we'll follow through from there. I spoke with the NAACP president from the Williamsburg County, and we were working together on some things, that approach they could take to help put some measures in place for accountability and stuff of that nature. So that's as far as I'm going with it.
And that's the tragedy of it, is that the family has been put in a position that they should never been put in, and that's sad. It really is. But we're gonna pray for them. Thank you, Pat Davis. We're praying for both families, because it is a tragedy for families that should not have happened. But as Marvin said, Williamsburg, meeting with the Williamsburg NAACP, and there should be accountability. There will be accountability. Moving forward, the Georgetown NAACP branch number 5520, we always encourage everybody to continue to be engaged citizens. And we just want to talk about upcoming meetings that are happening. Georgetown City Council is meeting February 17th, 2022, 5:30 p.m. If you want to participate in public comments, you have to get there before 5:30 to put your name on the list. There have been some changes in the public comments. We will learn more once we get there. We are aware of it. So please make sure you're there early, and make sure you get your name on all the appropriate lists. Georgetown County Council next meeting is 5:30 p.m. February 22nd. That's going to be at 129 Scriven Street. And City Council's at the Municipal Court at the police station. That's where they hold city council meetings. Georgetown County Council's courthouse at 129 Scriven Street. Please be engaged, citizens, y'all. Be involved with that also. What was the other? Candid Conversations in Black and White. Gab News Online. The first one is February 16th, Wednesday, February 16th at 12 noon. Jackie, can you give us a quick rundown on Conversations in Black and White? What should we expect? What's going on with that?
I'll tell you one thing before you start, Mary. I'm not a racist. Go ahead, Jackie.
That she froze. Look at you, shocked her so much she froze. Go ahead.
I do want to say, I want to shout out Scott Hopper from Gab News, because when we met with Scott, he said something to us, and he held true to his promise, and that was for transparency in covering live bond hearings, and making sure that he didn't just cover one that looked a certain way, but that he covered all of them. So I want to say shout out to Scott, because he did cover the bond hearing for this young lady in Hemingway, and and it's good to have your local face in there so you could get it real time, what have you. And so shout out to Scott for that. Also, I think it was very bold of him to want to do this show called Candid Conversations in Black and White. And Scott put up a flyer the other day, just, to remind people of when the show is going to air. And some people almost lost their minds. So after we get off of here, I'm going to do a live to try to clarify some things, because these people are literally losing their minds, which is why this conversation is so important.
Proving why we
It
need to
just
have
speaks, proves why we need to have it. It really does. And because people are out here literally believing that if you grew up and you were taught to respect people and obey authority, that you will not die at the hands of somebody in authority. And I had to say to one lady, well, that's so strange you grew up like that, because guess what? I grew up the same way. I grew up to respect my elders and to respect authority, but I found myself, interestingly enough, sitting in a bank parking lot with my hands on my steering wheel with a state trooper approaching me with his hand on his gun. This is why this conversation is so important. And the only thing she could say to me is, oh, I'm sorry you experienced that. No, if you sorry that I experienced that, have a greater responsibility of understanding why I experienced that. And then if you don't like it and you find that it is offensive and that's an offense to humanity as a whole, jump in the fight and lend your voice to it. Don't just go back to in your corner and not talk about it and not put action behind it. If you feel that it is wrong, then you need to speak up against the injustices. That's wrong. And so Candid Conversations in Black and White is simply a show that is going to be very transparent, and all of y'all relax. If you do not look like anybody on here that is going to be a part of the first show and you want to be a part of it, get in touch with Scott. You don't have to get upset. Get in touch with him and just say, I would like to be a part of the next show. But it is going to discuss racism in America and, more pointedly, racism in Georgetown. Because if you don't think that it is here, wait till you hear some of the stories. Wait till you hear some of the stories about some of the experiences that people have had right here in little historic seaport city of Georgetown. And so if we are truly wanting to heal from this, if we want to do better and be better, we can't keep sweeping it under the rug and talking about why can't we just move on and stop talking about race? Because racism is still alive and well. That's why we have to keep talking about it. So this is not going to be, someone said in the comment, I hope they're not going to just sit up there and lecture to us. I am not down, honey, for lecturing to no grown people. But what I am here for is to just give the truth of what I know I experienced, and how you interpret that is on you. This is going to be interesting. I saw the buzz on it. I don't know if any of you looked at the comments under the flyer that he posted, but this is getting ready to be extremely interesting. And shout out to Scott for even going down this path of wanting to do this. But he really wants to know, and I have to applaud him for that. So tune in next Wednesday. Tune in next Wednesday at 12 o'clock for Candid Conversations in Black and White, and you'll be able to comment. You'll be able to comment in the chat, and and if you have questions, you'll be able to ask questions of the people that are on the panel for that day. Yeah.
And Jackie, the key is, I've never was able to solve any issues without talking about it. So, and it reminds me, on the national NAACP board meeting this morning, which they're still convening, is that President Derrick Johnson stated, and how do we fix it if we don't work through it? And he came back and stated that, Emancipation Day is like yesterday. We are still being hunted down because of racism. Racism is not the issue. It's how we deal with it. It's crazy. It's like, critical race theory. How do you know what to change if you don't talk about it? What went wrong? I've never seen anything like this. And for someone to say that, sometimes I have to walk and shake my head, because I spoke with a young lady the other day, white young lady, and I know her well. And she walked up to me and said, you know what? I hate white men. I said, well, you can't hate white men. I said, you married to one. She said, yeah, but he's good. I said, you can't hate white men. You have to address the issue of white men, whoever man it is, or whatever skin tone it is. Address the issue. Address the issue. That's what it's all about. So your children, because she's also talking about how to deal with her young white son. You know, I said, well, you have to tell the story, the real story. Because if you don't, you're going to find out later. And that's where these cult groups and stuff develop from. So you have to tell them the truth, because he have black friends and stuff. And she had said again, well, what do I tell him when he gets stopped in a car with his black friend driving? You know, I said, you tell him, respond to the situation as though that's him. Bottom line. But teach them what to do when they get stopped, because they don't never get that experience until they get stopped and feel that pain of that black man sitting in that seat. I said, so that the greatest thing could happen to him is he gets stopped in that car with that black man. I wish he could disappear while the police is talking to him, so he'll know how to deal with the situation. That's why 1619 Project is so important. All these things are so important. We have to talk about the conversation, Jackie, to fix it.
Yeah. Yep. Marilyn and I had a conversation the other day, as so many that we have, talking about, the traumas of, the residual effect of the traumas that our ancestors suffered, and how we are still dealing with that as a race of people, and how it manifests itself. And let me tell you, it slapped me in the face on yesterday when I opened up the app and I was looking at some of the comments, and I saw African American people in the comment thread for this show going, I am so sick and tired of them talking about race and this, that, and the other. And I'm saying to myself, but you tired. Let me get this right. You're tired of us talking about race, when just the other day, once again in Minneapolis, a young black man was gunned down in a no-knock warrant, and he was not the person that they were looking for. You are a African American person, and you out here talking about you tired. See how desensitized and how I don't want to say accepting, but how we suffer trauma, and we don't even realize that we are suffering as a result of the trauma. It's like when you said to the young man, you have post-traumatic stress disorder, and you don't even realize you got post-traumatic stress disorder, but you got it, and you don't even realize you have it. And
that's a serious conversation the other night.
I looked at the comment from this lady, and I was like, you suffering from, you don't even realize the trauma that you're suffering from.
Jackie,
from 400 plus years ago. Because if you did, you wouldn't be on here saying, I'm so tired of talking about race. Why we just can't talk about love? Why we can't just talk? Because there's some folks out there that's not lovable and don't love us. That's why. That is why.
Yeah,
that's why.
But Jackie, we are still fighting. We fought for change. Okay? And the changes that happened, I mean, years ago, we have to come back and fight for that again because of changes that happened that wasn't satisfied, that didn't satisfy those that didn't want to change. We can get deeper into that with voting rights and all this other stuff. I just want to say that we have to continue to fight for that change, because that is what makes us different, and that's what it's all about. It's that change that we need to live freely and equally with equity. That's all it is. You know, it's simple. So quit talking about you tired of hearing about racism. My goodness, man. If you don't want to hear about what's going on, what are you going to do? What happens when she walks onto a job and qualified and someone walks on it because, you know, they had some college at North Carolina State and, you know, assistant, you know, Cub Scout leader, they become, you know, get a major job within the county and stuff to supervise people. What happens when that happens? You know, I'm not gonna call no name and stuff, but these are the type of things that happens. You know, I'm the son of, you know, so and so walk through the door, you know, oh, most qualified. And that goes on with black and white. You know, I sit in a position, so my daughter gonna get a position. All those things have happened and are still happening. You know, and hey, it happens every day. I tell my kids, you want the job, you're gonna get qualified for the job. Don't call me daddy, call somebody. No, you get qualified for the job, and you make sure you get references from folks that could prove that you have done some of this work that will qualify you. So go on out the door. Don't call daddy for that, because I don't do that. Because it hurts them in the end, Jack, when they walk into the job and can't do the job. It hurts everybody.
So on next Wednesday,
and you know what I'm talking about.
The first candid conversations in black and white will take place. Gab News, Zoom. Everyone tune in. It's going to be at 12 noon. And if, as Jackie said, if you want to be a part of it, contact Scott Harper. That's why we're trying to have an honest, respectful conversation. And when I say respectful, not talking over each other, not yelling at each other, having a conversation. We want you to be truthful because, you know what they say, the truth shall set you free. It's going to hurt a little bit before you free, but it will set you free. All right. Have one last big event coming up this month, along with other Black History events. If you have a Black History event coming up, y'all send it to us so we can talk about it and announce it. We should announce it on Spotlight. But we have the Galagic and African Diaspora Conference coming up February 24th through the 26th at Coastal Carolina University. And they are on the 26th going to have Galagic Community Day. Galagic Community Day, y'all. And you know, vendors will be out there. Authentic Galagic vendors will be out there. And I know Jackie's going to be out there. And
yes,
the Gullah Preservation Society, the Galagic Chamber. We've been working with Coastal Carolina University, letting folks know that they can be a vendor at Gullah Community Day. And I'm trying to find the page. I had that page, y'all. To share it. Where is it? I think this is it.
Hey, Marilyn.
Yeah,
I'm going to jump off because I have to get somewhere else. But
that we're wrapping up now. I just want to make sure that we have these announcements in there.
I love
it. I'm Geechee, but I don't know about Gullah, so you know, either I'm Gullah.
You Galagic. You
Gullah.
Let's not be fancy. We all Galagic. Don't try to be fancy. We all Galagic. But yeah, Marvin, we're wrapping up now. So thanks for coming on, and everyone, thank you. Galagic Community Day happening February 26th. That's that Saturday in downtown Conway. But the conference, you could go to Coastal Carolina University website. Just look for Galagic and African Diaspora Conference. I'm actually one of the presenters. The theme this year is who owns this? Who owns the community, the history, the culture? And that's been a big thing with the Galagic Chamber, ownership, y'all. Because once we own it, it changes everything. And that's what's going to be my presentation. It's going to talk about ownership.
Yeah. Marilyn, can I make one quick announcement?
You need to change that scoring stuff in Georgetown, you know.
Oh, it's about ownership. All right, Marvin, we'll see you.
I just have
bye, baby.
I just have one quick announcement.
Yes.
This afternoon, the AFL-CIO is presenting the first installment of its Black History Kids Camp. And so we will be on the Facebook Live on our page, the South Carolina Faith and Labor page. And we're going to do a live on the page for the virtual camp that will start at 6. It's from 6 to 7. And then that is this Saturday and next Saturday. But if you would like to participate, if you would like for your kids to participate in the camp, all you have to do is drop a note in the chat, or hit me up at 843-593-4222. Again, that's 843-593-4222. So we can email you the toolkit for the camp. You just take some pictures of you going through the information with your kids and teaching your children and send it to us. And your kids will get a certificate of completion, participation, excuse me. And we're also doing gift cards for all of the children that participate. So join us today at 6 o'clock for the kids camp, Black History Kids Camp, sponsored by the AFL-CIO. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Excellent, Jackie. Thank you for mentioning that. Hey, we said we want to know about those Black History events, and that's it, y'all, all the month of February. But let's remember, Black History is 365, 24/7, because Black history is American history. Y'all, we want to thank you for joining us today on Spotlight, brought to you by the Georgetown NAACP Branch number 5520. Thank you to Jackie Williams, we both got a long day today. We both got some stuff going on, and also Marvin. And we'll see you guys next week at 11 a.m.
Bye-bye.
Jackie, good to see you. I'll be seeing you later.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Goodbye.